Welcome to the Living Word Podcast. I am your host, Genevieve, and these episodes serve as a reminder to how essential your fullest expression is on this planet during one of the most transformative times in our history. Together, we are going to explore truth through vulnerable conversations about life's deeper meaning, exploring holistic wellness, mindset, spirituality, entrepreneurship, love, and everything in between. Let's dive in, shall we? Welcome back to the Living Word, a place where our words come alive. And that was the whole purpose of starting this podcast, is to bring incredible, influential people together who are ready to speak truth. Because I believe that in a world with so much noise, so much chaos, so much uncertainty, that when we can come together and speak from the heart, our words, our thoughts, our beliefs come alive. And today is nothing short of an amazing conversation that is about to happen, because I am joined by two incredible women who, even though I just met them recently, well, Jessie and I have a story for another time. We've known each other a while, but interacted very personal recently. I feel like I've known these two women for a very long time. My heart opens around them. And I believe it's also because of our co-vision of what is possible on this planet for women at every stage of life. And today we're going to be diving into a whole new level of greenwashing, especially when it comes to skin and fem care. And that's something that I have been very passionate about growing up with my father as a holistic doctor. But to be honest, Annette really showed me a whole new level that I was not even aware about. And Jessie and I have really dove deep into this, understanding, wait a minute, if we see the terms natural, green, clean, no harsh chemicals, no preservatives, no fillers tossed around everywhere in the beauty and cosmetic world, yet then we realize that it's mostly just marketing phrases, because a lot of these products actually have those hidden inside. How does that make you feel? Because I know that now we live in a time, even myself overcoming PCOS, as many of you know, episode 2, if you haven't heard that story, that when it comes to women's hormones, our nervous system, our well-being, there is a lot that we're up against in this world. And little do we know that by the time we have woken up and made breakfast in the morning after washing our face, we've potentially exposed ourselves to hundreds, if not thousands, of chemicals. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit, but the story behind how this even came about is really inspiring. And I am here with Annette Garcea. Did I say it right this time? I hope so.
It's good.
Okay, perfect. Who's the co-owner and educator of Damiva and Fourth Era. And, you know, she is a pioneer in this unique path of feminine skincare. And you're really dedicated to women across all stages of life. And one of the secrets is no chemicals. But that was not something that you've lived and breathed your whole life, Annette. This is something that you discovered through your own experience. So I would love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey that brought you to a place where now you are literally educating women around the world on this topic. And it's such an honor to have you here. And Jessie, I can't wait to share you with everyone in a moment.
Oh, well, welcome everybody, and thank you for having me on this episode today. And I'm really super excited to share about this vision of chemical-free, undiluted beauty and fem care and even baby care, because it's so important. And so I actually, there was 2 ways that I was introduced to becoming more conscious about this. When my daughter was 2 years old, she had a lot of allergies, reoccurrent strep throat infections, asthma. And at that point, I was a young mom. I thought I was fairly health conscious, and was lucky to grow up in a health conscious family. But I really, having, being a new mom and having a little girl who was struggling with those issues, I didn't want her to be on antibiotics all the time. I didn't think, that was great from what I knew, at that point in my life. And so I took her to an alternative doctor, which was an environmental specialist doctor in Ontario, in Canada. And there, he was actually not recognized by the medical community in his later years, and there was a big lawsuit against him. But he helped so many people, and he helped me with my daughter. And saying he was an environmental doctor, he opened my eyes to what's in our environment that's potentially allergens that we're exposed to every day, chemicals we use in the household. He talked about nutrition and how food affects us, and then also what we put on our skin and on our bodies. So that was my first little introduction to this, becoming more conscious about what's in our surroundings, in, on, and around us. And he helped my daughter, who no longer had to, because I changed up things, no longer had to be on the steroid puffers, no longer had her asthma attacks, because I made the changes in her diet, in her environment, and just what I was putting on her. So this is huge. This was a huge step for me. And later, years down the road, I also was diagnosed with a thyroid hypothyroidism, borderline Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease. And here I was counseled to go chemical free in my beauty, in my hygiene, you name it, all the things we use as women every day. It can be 10 to 15 products a day that all contain chemicals. And so that is being absorbed through our skin and affecting and disrupting our hormones and affecting the thyroid and other hormonal issues that, and autoimmune issues that women struggle with. And so that was when I made a big change for myself, because at first it was for my daughter, and then it was me, and I was struggling with the health issue at that point in my life. And so that put me on the path, but I found it extremely difficult to find something that was truly natural. And so when I was introduced to Damiva in 2020, it was, for me, I jumped on it right away because I was very excited, because there is not a lot out there that is truly pure and, chemical free, hormone disruption free. And so that became what my passion, and to be part of that company. My husband and I invested in the company and struggled through COVID with the company because it was just a few months before COVID that we went into the company. And so, it was a very difficult time, but we really believe in the products and the difference they make. And yeah, so we're going forward with this.
Wow, it's so inspiring to hear you going out. It's so interesting, Annette. Actually, first, you are in Cyprus, but you and I are actually from Ontario. And so I find it fascinating how we all become like
I know.
magnetized and attracted back together. Side note, yet for you as a young mom to take those proactive actions, because also back then, it's not like it was a long time ago, but it was something that was not recognized by most of society. I know that because of my dad. We were pushed away. What are they doing? Very woo woo. And yet at the same time, that underground world was very much being born and expanding, because people were starting to recognize those obstacles that were showing up. And you mentioned even Hashimoto's and thyroid. I ran a hair salon that was hair solution based. I'm a certified trichologist for hair loss, with looking for holistic ways to regrow hair. And the thyroid and Hashimoto's, autoimmune, everything to do with that world, that niche. Over those 9 years, I saw it expand in numbers that were very mind-blowing. And so it's quite fascinating that you dove in at that point, even after knowing that those changes were needed for your daughter. Isn't it funny that we don't think about it? Ignorance is bliss until it's affecting us personally. It's just very amazing. And Jessie, I saw you touch your heart when she said baby care. And I know that you, as a conscious young mom living in Tulum, have really actively chosen how you want to raise your son, the environment, like everything you do has been intentionally selected. And so when you hear Annette talk about that, like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it touches my heart deeply. I'll just briefly, quickly, introduce myself. I'm Jessie, and thank you so much, Jen, for having me on your podcast. I am honored to be here with both of you, Annette and Jen, such amazing women. And thank you all for being here and listening to us. We have so much value and wisdom to offer you today. And as Jen said, I am a woman's holistic health and empowerment coach. So this touches me deeply. Anything that affects us and that we don't know, and especially being a mother and doing the best I can every single day to be a conscious mother, to not do necessarily things that have been done in the past unconsciously. Now we know better, and we have so much education now with AI as well, that we can completely rewrite the script and be so much optimal. But it touched my heart because I feel that baby products are not 100% chemical free, are not abundant. It's not easy. The solution is not just available, just like all these chemicals. And I touched my heart because even though here in Tulum, let's say I do my best to buy the best shampoo, let's say for my son, or the best, or I put only coconut oil on his skin. But as we might dive in today, the fourth eras of beauty and personal care, just I guess briefly, the first era was just nature and doing concoctions of purely nature. But there's a bit of naive here, and also it's not tested for the long term. Like is it long term safety for the skin, for the pH, or for everything? So I feel like I'm using a little bit of the first era here. I'm going coconut oil can't harm, but also long term we don't know. But then the second era of beauty, where it was like mass production and lots of chemicals, so it would be like on tablets on shelves for years and still good. And then the third era, which was then the green beauty, like 100% natural. And this is what then I buy for me and my son, or even Jen, you bought thinking, you're like, I'm green, I'm toxin free beauty. This is the third era. And now we're entering the fourth era, which is really the undiluted, pure richness, 100% active ingredients, zero water, which, yeah, Jen. So I touched my heart because, again, I am a wellness enthusiast, and I preach well-being and optimal health and optimal bodies and optimal performance and consciousness, higher consciousness. Yet I cannot believe that only even just a few months ago, I didn't know, when I met Annette, this is when it came to my consciousness that there's 4 eras of beauty and personal care. I was like, for real? Like, this is a thing? And so that was new for me. And also just that water in a product was bad. I never thought, if I read a product from my son and I see water as the first ingredient, I didn't think anything bad of it because I thought it's water. But now with this new knowledge from Damiva and from the fourth era, which I'm so grateful, Annette, this really came and revolutionized our life and our health and our future. And now the futures of others, because we're now sharing this message loud and proud. So yeah, what we learn can benefit others as well. So
Well, it's so true. I always thought water, and that you really like opened my eyes to that. I thought water was a good thing. I was like, oh wow, this is like a great thing to see. And when you were looking into all of this, and because when you're pioneering this, the information is not readily available. I mean, even AI was not where it was at when you were doing this. So what were kind of the first things that, if I know I'm asking a lot of you to dig deep into that, but like Jessie and I, like we still can't believe the water aspect. And for everyone listening, like, we learned from Annette that when you see water in a product, it actually means there's hidden chemicals. And that's still months later, I'm looking at things and kind of mind blown. And so what was kind of the first entry points to you discovering the greenwashing and the levels of it that were available to really look for, like, to know what to look for?
I was actually very conscious of reading labels way back, and in food mostly. And when I had the diagnosis of the thyroid disorder, that brought me into the personal care and the beauty and the femme care, looking at. Yeah, I was just blown away because there was ingredients I didn't know, and this was kind of my benchmark in the food industry. I would try to buy as whole as possible or as less ingredients as possible. And I had to know everything, and I wouldn't eat it or buy it if it had something, I didn't know, or I just at least tried to do that. And when it came to the beauty, it seemed like a natural transition. I thought, well, why wouldn't I have looked at what I put on my skin? Your skin is, like a sponge. It's an organ. It's your largest organ, your largest detox organ next to your liver, but the skin is the biggest organ. And what we put on our skin gets absorbed into our bloodstreams and affects our health. But we don't realize we're doing that because it's just, we have been so used to doing it our entire lives, and not even thinking about it and not even thinking, oh, okay, this might not be good. And so it really took someone to tell me that, oh yeah, make sure you check your skincare. There's toxins in there, like really, things that are causing people to be ill. And so this was mind blowing for me. And it was. I became just as diligent to look for stuff, but I couldn't find things that were pure. There wasn't anything out there. And it's the same, like Jess, if I couldn't find something, I would use from the First Era, something that was natural in the cupboard, because I preferred to do that compared to some of the stuff that was available out there. Mm-hmm. And, the water products contain 80% to 90%, even higher water. And it's just a filler, like it's just a filler there. And when there's water, the product will turn if it's not preserved. And so you need to have chemicals in there. And, so you can buy a luxury brand, you can buy a dermatology recommended brand that's supposed to be good for your skin, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have chemicals. They have water and they have chemicals, and it's the same as buying a regular brand, a luxury brand. It's the same thing. And so it's a marketing thing that we're being deceived, and it's very sad, actually.
It is very sad. And it's so interesting. One of the things that we'll share in the show notes, and the three of us are going to be hosting a webinar after this for any of you women who want to dive deeper into this, because there are aspects of this that we're still up against a lot of people being silenced for talking about this. So we're really dedicated to bringing that information to the collective. And one of the things that I see as a biohacking educator and working specifically, I work with everyone, but really working with women. And, we hear that all the time now, that divine feminine energy, finding that divine alignment. And, even for myself, like I understood very clearly at a young age about food, just like you, Annette, even about household products. But for some reason, when it came to the skincare and as long as I thought I was buying a natural brand, I thought it was good enough. And what I realize now in the last few months, really diving into this, is that if we want to be in our most optimally aligned energy, if we truly want to expand our consciousness, then having our largest organ, like you said, absorbing so many chemicals and toxins like all the time. You said, I don't know the number you said of products. I use definitely way more than that. Like I love products all the time, hands, this, that, curly hair, living in Mexico, And so it's, if we are recognizing what we're absorbing every single day, all of the other things we're doing, the biohacking, the detox, the technologies we're using, it's really just keeping us at this equilibrium. And we're constantly combating not only the environmental pollutants out there, not only the hidden things in our food, but also everything that we're absorbing. And I truly believe now, diving into toxic beauty and learning from yourself, Dr. Tobias, your husband, Jessie, and Niklas, who we've been working together with, is that this is actually one of the most important layers for us to uncover. And women now, we all see it, menopause, perimenopause, PCOS, endometriosis, we are seeing this exacerbated more than ever before. There's not very many women that I meet in their healing journey that aren't having some type of inconsistency in their hormonal system. And what we don't recognize is even, Jessie, I know that you even work with women on their weight management in areas, but it's all has to do with that intricate hormonal system and how it's affecting us. And Annette, as you as a woman, who's educating in those hormonal shifts, like, what are you seeing as some of the most popular, I'll say, symptoms of women that are going through these phases of hormonal changes that are getting frustrated? Because I didn't even know femcare was a popular thing.
Yeah, well, during the different, first of all, women in their reproductive years, they have their hormone cycles. And so different times of their cycle, hormones are going to drop, the estrogen's going to drop. And then we see that postpartum, a huge estrogen drop. When you're pregnant, the hormones are surging. When you're after you've delivered, the hormones are dropping. And then perimenopause, they're all over the place. And then again in menopause, they're going to decline until death. So your hormones are going down. They're making you, because they're protective, hormones are protective, we need them, and they affect so many functions in our body, and our brains, and our skin, our skeleton, our muscles, all our major systems. We need those protective hormones. But women are vulnerable because those hormones during the reproductive years are fluctuating. They're cycling, is what I want to say. In postmenopause, when they're declining, we're susceptible to disease. We're more sensitive to things. And so it's super important at that time, I'm going to say in your life, postmenopause, that you're clean with what you're putting on, because your immune system is already compromised because of the loss of hormones. So in the other times and phases of life, stressful periods, also postpartum, I'm going to say, we're more susceptible to depression, more susceptible to all these symptoms that come with hormone drops, like dryness, dryness of skin, women in menopause, heart disease, osteoporosis, depression. 1 in 8 women, I believe, in menopause, depression. And not just that, 75% of people diagnosed with autoimmune disorders, like I was, are women. And this has to do with our constitution, our hormone fluctuation. Women have more body fat percentage compared to men, and that's where we store toxins. And, you mentioned PCOS. This, I think it's something like 5 million women have PCOS, I think it's worldwide, but this is hormone disruption. This is hormone dysregulation of hormones, and that's happening because of our exposure to toxins.
Can I just share something?
Absolutely.
What blew my mind, this is another new thing I learned these past months, weeks, through Niklas, through working with Damiva and the Fourth Era of beauty personal care, is that I've been in the wellness market for the longest time. I've been a personal trainer in the gyms, and after that a health and fitness coach online, and now I'm transitioning into more holistic health because I address now all levels, not just the physical but also the mental, emotional, spiritual, energetics, and the whole thing. But my biggest breakthrough was that the beauty and personal care is the largest market in the whole wellness economy. That I didn't know that. And when you said it's mostly women, 75% of autoimmune are women, yes. I also then related to beauty and personal care is the largest economy in the wellness, the largest market in the wellness economy. And it's mostly women. Men nowadays have beautiful personal care as well, and beauty care, but it's mostly women for femme care. And yeah, we use much more products than men in general. So, and Jen, what are the stats that you said that this market is planned to go to trillion or something? It's going to grow
50%. it was 2.3 trillion dollars, and it's going to rise by 52% by 2027.
So this is mind blowing, these numbers and this awareness for me is just, and what I feel like we're exposing here today on this podcast, on this episode, and talking about this big and like the water and the products or the greenwashing is that it's the biggest lie in the wellness industry. Like in the beauty and personal care is it's a market in the wellness economy, like it's in the wellness industry, yet it's not well. It's not wellness.
And we fell for it.
Yes, so I'm like, this is not wellness. So now this is how I approach people. I say, hey, if you preach wellness and you walk and talk about healthy nutrition and movement and healthy lifestyle, what's in your beauty products? Because now this is like you said, Jen, we're doing all these biohacking things, all the the optimal water and the optimal things, yet we're not looking at what we put on our skins. So
yeah, absolutely. And the hormonal disruption is something I see more and more. I mean, I've been working actively with women for over 15 years, and right now I just had a call the other day with one of the top OBGYN hormonal doctors in Canada and a compounding pharmacist who deals directly with hormonal fluctuations. And their practices right now are growing so fast, unfortunately, that they have to outsource more practitioners to bring in. And so we were talking about how this is really a domino effect, where it's not just from things right now, as you said, those different eras of the industries. This has been something that has been like a slow burn over time. And now not only is it affecting the women, but also their children, the babies. Like when I found out, Annette, like that babies have the highest level of toxicity when they're born than ever before, I was like, oh my goodness, I had never thought about that. We talk all the time, we see on even supplements, on detox protocols, not to use while pregnant or breastfeeding. And I was like, well, that makes sense. We don't want to like upregulate our detox pathways while we're breastfeeding. But then I didn't consider that even if we're using the exact same products on our skin while breastfeeding, it's probably worse.
Right. And it's not talked about. It's very interesting that you say that, because it's not even, people are not warned to not use it on their skin. And it's actually the opposite. It's use more products. Women on average are using I've heard of the statistic of 10 to 15 products, which is about 168 ingredients, and most of those will be hormone disruptors. And I talk about I deal with a lot of pelvic floor physiotherapists that I talk to on a regular basis for our FemCare products. And it's really interesting to say here, because they ask us, are you going to have fertility friendly product in like a lube, for instance? And we don't have a lube, we have a vaginal moisturizer. And I say, well, fertility friendly only means that product that you're using with chemicals is not going to kill the sperm. But all those chemicals, they don't even bring to light, are affecting the woman and her hormone, and her hormone system. They're dysregulating her hormone system. But it's only considered fertility friendly if it doesn't affect the sperm. Wow. That it doesn't create a lesser motility of the sperm or whatever. But it's not. Those chemicals are disrupting a woman's system. That woman might be, maybe she doesn't want to get pregnant, but later down the years, she wants to get pregnant, but she's used these products that she doesn't know. She thinks they're fertility friendly, but doesn't really know in the broad spectrum that just means, for the man, for the sperm, not for the system. So it's kind of bizarre. It's really backwards.
Yeah, and bringing that is the physical aspect. This is something I know, Jessie, you dive into a lot, and I love talking about this with you. But what you just said, Annette, like directly impacting our fertility, our womb, our creation center, which from there, on an energetic standpoint, we're always talking about the creator energy, the sexual energy, like how big that is. Like that is truly one of the most potent and powerful energies that we have, just for everything in life, not just reproduction. And so if it's affecting that on a physical level for our ability to create and reproduce, like my thought is, Jessie, what do you think about on a spiritual, energetic level at the same time for women? Because that's just where I'm like, wait a minute, like we know that everything is one and connected.
Yes, I mean, and I remember back in 2020 in Australia being in a women's health seminar, and I remember the educator saying very clearly, if the human race doesn't change its ways, by 2050 we are infertile as a race. So the end of humanity. So that's very important as well to just touch on. So energetically, spiritually speaking, the thing is, this is one layer, right? The beauty, personal care, and the toxicity and the products is one layer. I see also that there's so many other layers that are affecting our fertility and our well-being as women. But like you said, yes, our wombs it's the seat of knowing for us women, and this is where we bring life. And so yeah, it's really deep. That would be for a whole other podcast. I feel that it's a whole other dimension we can dive into. But definitely when we speak about, ultimate self-love or a higher vibration, higher consciousness, higher frequency living, and to really feel the most bliss, the most health and the most ease, really the foundation is our body, our temple, our vessel, the physiological, this is, we are both spirit and matter. We are our bodies, and we are this beautiful spirit, energy, and soul on this experience of life. But many disregard the body, unfortunately. And living in Tulum, Mexico, it's like a little spiritual bubble. So I love that so many people are conscious and as health conscious and spiritual as it gets, yet a lot of them actually disregard the body. So it's just quite interesting. So there's a bit of a disconnection, but it is also now where we're at in the collective. I feel a lot of spiritual bypassing, a lot of love and light, and just disregarding this piece here that is also very spiritual and very divine, our physical body, and addressing things. I think also with this spiritual world, we address so much of the inside, like the inner work, like everything outside is a reflection of inside. Yet I think it's important to also address the environment. And yes, your environment will mirror your inner world, but sometimes, you need both. You need to look at outside, look at inside. And I feel like just doing a swap. What also I love about beauty and personal care now, let's say, having this awareness of, okay, wow, all my stuff in my bathrooms are bad. They're all going to the trash. Now what? I feel that what's good is, because I've been, working with a lot of biohacking devices and tools, and sometimes or supplements back then, it's a lot of new things to add in someone's life. I was a personal trainer. It's like, no, you're adding workouts. Now you're changing, you're adding new foods. So it's a lot of newness versus this is simply take a look. This is trash, and now you just replace. So the habits stay the same. There's nothing new. It's simply just a switch. From unhealthy to healthy.
Absolutely. It is a swap. And, I'll touch on something you said that's really important, because I think it's really, a lot of people listening here, you're here because we talk about that spiritual aspect. We talk about energetics. We talk about frequency. And that's why I think it's really important to touch on what you said, like what is within is without, inside, outside, reflection, mirror. So how is it possible for us to be able to elevate our frequency if we are trying to clear out and elevate the inner world, the heart space, the divine creation that we are, if we are constantly unaware of the disruption that we are placing on top of ourselves? And so that actually is an oxymoron. It doesn't work. And that's where we see the spiritual bypassing, where we're always looking for more depth, more visions, more enlightenment, more all of this, whatever the belief is to you, universal law, God, creator, whatever. We are here living a spiritual experience. We are here to really discover the potency and the power that is within ourselves. And yet we are only now unlocking the doorway, the pathway to understanding that a lot of that personal power has been intentionally disrupted by consumerism and by the lies, like you said, Annette, that we've been told outside of us. And so I think that's a really important connection to make, where sometimes it's not about doing more and being more and all searching more. It's simply that. My partner always says this: we're in the age now where it's not what more can I add in, it's actually what can I get rid of. And that's what I love so much about Damiva is we're cutting through the noise, we're cutting through the clutter. This company has been birthed to give options for women to be able to declutter their energy through the physical personal care, through fem care, to know that what we're putting onto ourselves at every stage in life is actually meant to broaden the capabilities that we have as women. Isn't that an amazing thing to think? Like, this face serum, yes, it may seem so simple, because it is. Nature is simple. Nature is the code. Nature is the answer. It is simple, but the simplicity of it is actually the most luxurious thing that we can have, because it's not only going to deliver what we require on a physical level, but in time, it's also going to allow us to go deeper into that spiritual, energetic level. And I'm just so grateful for that. And Annette, is that something, like, while you've been creating and co-creating this line and elevating it and inviting all of us in to expand it, because we know that we're stronger together, and this Damiva and everything that it has, where it's taking on a whole new layer that is becoming the fourth era. This is the birth of the fourth era in a whole new way. And it's like, what was your intention at the beginning with this product line, and what is your vision now? What do you see coming out of this? Because I'm certain it's way bigger than you had originally thought.
Absolutely. I mean, my own journey, you know, I just, I struggled on my own journey, and it was difficult, like, going that way, because I felt like not so many people know, and not many people know. And I was lucky to know and to find out. And, for me, it was also this whole journey of growth for myself, and this spirituality that I discovered through yoga. And I didn't mention, but I had a yoga studio for 15 years, and went that path because I noticed myself, and so women feel so much this unworthiness, and that makes us the prime person to be manipulated, because we look outside of ourselves for something. And whether it be the media, the corporate giants, or whatever, but they really they prey on young women and older women and everybody, and we fall for it because we think we're not whole, or we're not complete, and we need these products to make ourselves more beautiful, or whatever. But if we could only just recognize, and this is something that even in our conversation today is come out, that if we could just recognize that we have everything inside, and it is the simplicity of the ingredients, the simplicity, the simple things that are powerful, and we don't need all of that stuff. And if we could just trust more inside of ourselves, I think that is a big message. And hopefully, more people, more women, can start to see that, and more trust in that, and make the shift for themselves. And I think, by us starting, and by us, coming together like this, people listening, and I'm hoping that it will grow and expand and whatnot. So
Can I just say something, Jen, that it's been like, I need to share, because Jen, you said it's a return to nature's codes, essentially with Damiva,
yes,
you're like, this is so simple. But the one thing, and you said this is actually the real luxury, but I just want to wrap all of because we spoke about the first era, which is like the complete just nature and simplicity, yet naive, because we don't have then the technology and the science to back, oh yeah, this is pH friendly for long term, for years of use, or yeah, this is actually what's going to nourish, protect, and create this results that you desire. Yeah, the anti-aging or things like this. But I feel that with Damiva, though, yet is so simple, because you're like, wow, there's, let's say in the Eve, right? The balm that you can put everywhere on your body and that has multi usage. Yes, there's only 12 active ingredients yet. So it seems very simple, like you said, Jen, yet we have now the modern day science and technologies to, like, why are we patented? Like Damiva has patents because of the formulations, because they use science to know that certain percentages of this, with certain percentage of that, with the perfect formulation. So it's very simple, yet there's a lot of wisdom and science and technology and things that go into formulations, and that's why we're patented. But correct me, Annette, if I'm wrong, but I feel like the fourth era of beauty will really represent a return to nature's wisdom, nature's codes, and nature's purity, and a mix of now this era that we are in, that we can mass produce yet keep it clean 100%. And then so it's like a mix of the first, second, and third era, but at its optimal everything. We take the good of each, yet we take out the bad of each era, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Totally. It's beautiful. And it's also being led by people who care. And that's one of the things that pulled me in, Annette, is your story, your beauty, your wisdom. I didn't know you had a yoga studio, but what you just said and the way that I know you care about women, every single one of you listening right now, I know that Annette and Jessie and I care. And that's why, Annette, you've taken a huge step, a huge leap of faith to bring this to the world, to the market, to be the name behind a very disruptive, although very loving, very disruptive industry. And I believe that Damiva and the Fourth Era is bigger than a business. It's bigger than a product. It's a movement. And I'm so grateful to be invited into that. And if everything that we've talked about today, you piqued your curiosity, well, what are these products? How do I learn more about my own products? What we're going to do is offer a webinar where you can join us. We'll have a Q&A with Annette, Jessie, and I. We're going to share a very simple technology that you can utilize to scan your products and learn more. We're going to educate on the ways that you can make those simple swaps for you, your family, your children, your future children. And so we're not just here to implement fear and chaos. We're actually here to provide a solution. And so if that interests you, please look at the show notes below. And if you are watching this recording way down the road, then we will update the show notes to have the recording of the webinar so that you can continue your own discovery and exploration. And the invitation that Annette gave to Jessie and I to explore, to discover, to be part of is the same invitation that we are offering all of you to come in, explore, discover, and be part of this, because we know that as humans, when we are in our highest potency, when we are truly aligned in that beautiful wisdom and power, and we have the right education, because we know that what we've received in the past for awareness is not correct, then we can do absolutely massive and beautiful things. And you two ladies are such a gift to do this along. And Annette, just before we go, is there anything you want to leave with anyone listening today?
Oh, I just want to, just to say thank you for listening, and would love to continue this conversation and journey, because it's so needed for women and for everybody, actually. And just gratitude for having, thank you for having me on your podcast today, and for letting me share, and because it is so important. This is what how things change and come into creation. And
thank you. And Jessie, beautiful goddess, is there any last words you'd like to leave with everyone?
I just want to say what a beautiful conversation, exposing and revealing and illuminating on this beautiful time of a full moon eclipse portal that we are in right now. So just also the stars and the cosmic energies are aligned with this conversation. We're like bringing things to the surface for people to see the truth. So that's it.
Thank you both so much. And we will see you all very soon. And check the show notes for everything we talked about today. And I'll see you on the next episode of The Living Word.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Living Word podcast today. My hope is that you have something new or a remembrance that you can apply in your life right now. Isn't that the whole point of us learning and growing? To take new understandings and alchemize them through our own human experience? Please like and leave a comment or review if you enjoyed this episode, and share it with people in your life who would benefit from hearing it also. Make sure you subscribe to the Living Word podcast on your favorite platform and be the first to know about upcoming episodes. Sending so much love and gratitude to be on this journey together. See you soon.